The front door of that old roadside bar let out a tired groan as it swung open, the kind of sound a place makes when it's seen too many rough nights. I looked up just in time to see a small figure slip inside, and for a brief moment a thin slice of the last evening sunlight cut straight through the smoky haze drifting above the tables. It lit her up like a spotlight, and I swear the whole damn room paused. Even the loud laughter, the kind you hear from men who've lived hard lives, cut off for a heartbeat. Every set of eyes, rough and inked up, turned straight toward her. She couldn't have been more than 16, maybe 17 if you squinted, and she was drowning in a leather jacket that was a size or two too big for her small frame. Her sneakers were caked in dried mud, her jeans had more rips than denim, and her hair was pulled back in a ponytail that looked like she'd tied it while running. She froze just inside the doorway, gripping the sides of that jacket like it was the only piece of armor she had left in the world. At first, the looks she got weren't mean, more like the stunned confusion you get when something just doesn't fit the picture. But then, a few chuckles slipped out from the tables. That quiet disbelief spread through the crowd, and before long the laughter grew deeper, rolling across the room. A couple of hoots bounced off the bar walls. And honestly, who could blame them? The Iron Wolves, our club, one of the toughest in the whole county, had never seen a girl her age walk in alone like she owned the place. A teenager standing in a nest of grizzled bikers who rode machines, weighed down with chrome and history. Well, it wasn't exactly an everyday sight. Tank, the biggest man in the club, big enough that the nickname didn't even feel like an exaggeration, leaned back in his chair and let out a booming laugh. "Well, look at this. Did a Girl Scout get lost on her cookie route?" The room roared with approval. Bottles clinked, boots pounded the floor. Guys elbowed each other like they'd been handed the best joke of the night. But she didn't budge, not an inch. She just stood there in the middle of all that noise, breathing slow and steady, waiting for the storm of laughter to blow itself out. And then we saw it. The patch on the back of her jacket. Before I go on, let me say this. If you're someone who believes in kindness, in second chances, in the quiet strength some people carry even when the world's falling apart around them, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Stories of Old Ryan. Your support helps us keep telling stories that remind folks the world still has good left in it. Now, that patch. It wasn't the kind you find at some biker-themed gift shop. No bright colors, no flashy embroidery. This one was old, frayed edges, colors faded by time and road dust, but even worn down, the words were unmistakable. Iron Wolves, founding member. A wave of silence washed across the room so fast you could practically hear the air shift. Men straightened in their chairs. Others set their drinks down. A couple of guys looked at each other like they couldn't trust what they were seeing. That patch wasn't just clothing, it was history. And nobody, absolutely nobody, wore it unless they had the right to. Those patches belonged to the legends who built the club decades back, long before most of us were even old enough to ride. The girl turned around slowly, letting every man get a full look at it. Then she faced us again, eyes trembling but steady enough to show she wasn't running away from this moment no matter how scared she might have been. Her voice quivered when she spoke, but she didn't try to hide it. "This jacket belonged to my dad," she said, "Eli Rivers. And let me tell you," her words hit that room like a cold gust rolling in from a graveyard. The name Eli Rivers was etched into every memory, every story, every scar around those tables. He wasn't just a founding member, he was one of the Iron Wolves' fiercest riders, a man who never backed down from a fight, and never walked away from doing the right damn thing, even when it cost him. Everyone felt it. Everyone remembered him. And now his daughter was standing in the doorway, alone, shaking, wearing his jacket. Eli Rivers had been gone for years, taken from this world on a lonely stretch of Route 66. Most people only remembered the accident, but the wolves remembered the truth. He died dragging a whole family out of a burning car, putting their lives ahead of his own without a second thought. That's the kind of man he was. And after he passed, none of us had seen his daughter, not once, after the funeral. Life just swept everything forward like it always does, and the people who should have checked in, well, we didn't. But now she was standing right in front of us, wrapped in the jacket that used to sit on her father's shoulders. Seeing her in it made something tighten in my chest. Her name was Mira. She didn't come to relive old stories or stir up old grief. She came because she had nowhere else to turn. Her mother's health was slipping fast. Medical bills were stacking taller than they could ever hope to pay, and everyone in town seemed to have excuses instead of compassion. She stared down at the floor and spoke in this quiet, shaky voice that somehow made every word feel heavier. "I didn't know where else to go," she said. "Mom always told me, your dad's brothers would never let us fall." I swear, those words hit harder than any punch I've ever taken. You could feel it cut through the room. The same men who'd been laughing minutes earlier were staring at their boots now, shoulders sinking under the weight of memories they hadn't faced in years. Eli wasn't just another biker. He was one of us. One of the best damn men to ever swing a leg over a motorcycle. We had promised, sworn, to look after his family. But time has a way of dulling even the sharpest vows. People get older, the world keeps spinning, and before you know it, the things you meant to do become the things you forgot you promised. And now, here stood his daughter, carrying not just her father's patch, but the shame of all the years we'd let slip by. Tank, the same big bastard who cracked that joke earlier, pushed his chair back and rose to his feet. He looked like the air had been punched out of him. When he finally spoke, his voice came out rough and uneven. "Kid, you shouldn't have had to walk in here alone." He pulled his cap off like he was standing at a funeral and ran a hand over his face. You could tell the guilt was eating him alive. Around the room, the guys looked at each other. Small nods, tight jaws. Those silent signals bikers use when something has already been decided without anyone needing to say it out loud. That night, when Mara left the bar, she didn't leave alone. She rode home in the center of a convoy of roaring engines, chrome wolves moving as one. The iron wolves were back in formation, just like the old days. Their headlights sliced through the darkness, lighting up the broken roads all the way to her small house on the edge of town. And they didn't just fix a few things. They rebuilt the place from the ground up. By sunrise, neighbors peeked from behind curtains in disbelief. A dozen hardened bikers were out there painting walls, hammering boards, repairing fences, unloading groceries, doing the kind of work you'd expect from church volunteers, not men who looked like they could arm wrestle a grizzly. For the first time in years, Mara's mother smiled, really smiled. You could see her whole face soften, like she finally felt the weight lifting. But the repairs were just the beginning. Something inside the club shifted that night. It was like Mara became a mirror, reflecting who we used to be back at us. She didn't talk much, didn't ask for anything, didn't try to fill the silence, but her presence lit a fire that had died years ago. That old loyalty, the kind that had built the iron wolves from nothing, came roaring back to life. Soon enough, we found ourselves doing things we hadn't done in decades. Charity rides, food deliveries to families who were barely hanging on, fundraisers for wounded veterans, hospital visits for sick kids who lit up when a line of motorcycles rumbled into the parking lot. And every time we rode out, every time we showed our colors with pride, there was one rider leading the pack. Mara, sitting on her father's old bike, fully restored by the same men who once believed they had nothing left worth fighting for. And watching her up there, it felt like Eli was riding with us again. Seeing her ride with us, so young, so steady, so sure of who she was, did something to the whole club. There was this fire in her eyes, this quiet determination that reminded us of the man who raised her. It felt like she carried Eli's spirit right there on her shoulders, and somehow that gave all of us a sense of purpose we didn't even know we'd lost. Folks around town eventually started calling her the Little Wolf. It wasn't meant to be cute. It was a name spoken with respect. She earned it. A few months later, the Iron Wolves held our annual gathering, something between a family reunion and a tribal meeting. Guys came in from every corner of the state. There was laughter, old stories, the smell of engines cooling in the lot. But the moment that stuck with every man there happened near the end. Tank walked up to Mara, holding something wrapped carefully in a faded cloth. His big hands, usually strong enough to crush a wrench, trembled just a little as he placed it in hers. She unwrapped it slowly. Inside was a custom-made patch. Fresh, hand-stitched with more care than anything we'd made in years. It read, Legacy Rider. And beneath it, in smaller, steadier letters, Daughter of Eli Rivers. The whole room seemed to hold its breath as she ran her fingers over the threads. Nobody said a word. Then Mara took out a needle and some heavy-duty thread and knelt beside her father's original founding patch sewn into the back of her jacket. With soft, focused movements, she started stitching the new one right beside it. I swear to you, grown men who had survived bar fights, crashes, prison cells, and heartbreak stood there wiping at their eyes like kids who just watched their childhood hero walk into the room. When she finished and looked up at us, she gave this small, gentle smile. The kind that makes you feel something shift inside your chest. My dad always told me, she said, the patch doesn't make you strong. It reminds you who you ride for. Her voice echoed off the walls of that old hall, and I felt the words settle deep inside me. I could see the others felt it too. In that quiet moment, we all understood something we'd forgotten for a long time. Our brotherhood wasn't stitched from leather or thread. It was built from loyalty, from love, from sacrifices made in silence, from courage that doesn't need to shout to be real. From that day on, whenever the Iron Wolves rolled through town or thundered down the open highway, folks always noticed her. That young girl riding steady among us, her jacket telling a story louder than any engine could roar. Two patches side by side, one belonging to a legend, the other to the legacy carrying him forward. She wasn't just holding on to her father's memory, she was creating her own. If this story touched something in you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Stories of Old Ryan. Every single click helps us share real stories, stories of hope, redemption, loyalty, and the kind of love that doesn't fade. Before you go, drop a comment below. Tell us, what does loyalty mean to you? Have you ever known someone whose quiet strength changed you? And as the Iron Wolves roared back onto the open road, engines shaking the ground beneath us, the wind caught the back of Mira's jacket. The two patches, her father's legacy and her new one, glinted bright in the sunlight. A reminder that kindness, like legacy, never truly disappears.